Sam was an ordinary boy living in a small town surrounded by green fields and quiet streets. He was 10 years old, had messy brown hair that always seemed to stick out in different directions, and bright eyes that sparkled whenever he smiled. Though Sam wasn't the loudest kid in his class, he had a kind heart that made him special. His teachers often said he was thoughtful, and his friends liked him because he never hesitated to share his snacks or help them when they were stuck on a problem. But what made Sam truly unique was how much he cared about even the smallest things most people didn't notice or bother to think about. On one particularly cold winter afternoon, Sam walked home from school like he did every day. The air was crisp and his breath formed little clouds as he exhaled. The trees along the street stood bare, their branches reaching toward the gray sky as if begging for warmth. Leaves crunched under his shoes as he moved slowly, his backpack bouncing against his back with each step. Sam didn't mind the cold. In fact, he enjoyed these walks. They gave him time to think, to dream, and sometimes just to watch the world around him. As Sam turned onto his street, something unusual caught his eye near the curb. At first, he thought it was a crumpled piece of paper, or maybe a fallen leaf caught in the wind. But as he got closer, he realized it wasn't either of those things. It was a bird, a tiny sparrow with soft gray feathers and hints of yellow on its chest. The bird lay still on the ground, its wings trembling weakly. Sam stopped in his tracks, staring at it with wide eyes. For a moment he wondered if it was dead, but then he saw its beak move ever so slightly, as though it was trying to breathe. Sam looked around, hoping someone else would come to help. There were no cars driving by, no neighbors walking their dogs, not even a stray cat lurking nearby. The street was eerily quiet, and Sam felt a pang of sadness in his chest. How could everyone ignore this poor creature? He knelt down beside the bird, careful not to startle it. Up close he could see that its feathers were ruffled and there was a small scratch on its wing. It looked so fragile, so helpless, and Sam's heart ached for it. He knew he couldn't just leave it there. Even though he didn't know much about birds, he understood that leaving it on the cold sidewalk would mean certain death. The thought of doing nothing felt wrong, almost unbearable. Taking a deep breath, Sam unzipped his jacket and wrapped the bird gently in the scarf he had been wearing. The bird didn't struggle or try to escape. It was too weak for that. But Sam could feel its tiny heartbeat through the fabric. He held it close to his chest, trying to keep it warm as he hurried toward home. The walk home felt longer than usual. Every step Sam took seemed heavier, not because of the weight of the bird in his arms, but because of the weight of responsibility he now felt. What if he couldn't save it? What if it died anyway? These questions swirled in his mind, making him anxious. But despite his worries, Sam refused to give up. He whispered softly to the bird, "Don't worry, little guy. I'll take care of you." When Sam finally reached his house, he pushed open the front door and called out, "Mom, Mom, can you come here?" His voice was urgent, tinged with both excitement and fear. A few seconds later, his mother appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. She raised an eyebrow when she saw the bundle in Sam's arms. "What's going on?" she asked, her tone curious but calm. Sam carefully unwrapped the scarf to reveal the injured bird. "I found it on the street," he explained quickly. "It's hurt and I didn't know what else to do, so I brought it here. Can we help it?" His mother crouched down beside him, studying the bird closely. She touched its wing lightly, causing it to chirp weakly in response. "Oh, sweetheart," she said softly. "You did the right thing bringing it here. Let's see what we can do." Together they found an old shoebox and lined it with a soft cloth. Then, they placed the bird inside and set the box near the heater to keep it warm. Sam fetched a shallow dish of water and some breadcrumbs, placing them carefully beside the box. For the rest of the evening, Sam stayed by the bird's side, watching over it like a guardian angel. He sat cross-legged on the floor, his chin resting on his hands as he observed every movement the bird made. When it pecked at the breadcrumbs, Sam's face lit up with joy. When it shifted slightly in the box, he whispered words of encouragement. "You're going to be okay," he murmured. "Just hang in there." His mother watched him from the doorway, smiling softly. She admired Sam's compassion and determination. Most kids his age wouldn't have given a second thought to an injured bird on the street, but Sam had gone out of his way to help. It reminded her of how special her son truly was. As night fell, Sam reluctantly went to bed, but not before checking on the bird one last time. He leaned over the box and whispered, "Please get better." Then he turned off the light and climbed into bed, his mind filled with thoughts of the tiny creature downstairs. Would it survive the night? Would it recover enough to fly again? These questions lingered in his mind as he drifted off to sleep. Little did Sam know this small act of kindness would lead to something extraordinary. Tomorrow would bring surprises he couldn't have imagined, moments that would change his life forever. But for now, all he could do was hope and trust that his efforts hadn't been in vain. That night, as the house grew quiet and the world outside turned dark, the bird nestled deeper into the soft cloth of the box. Its breathing steadied, and its tiny body began to heal, thanks to the warmth and care it had received. And somewhere in the universe, perhaps even beyond the stars, forces were aligning in ways no one could predict. Forces that would connect Sam's simple act of kindness to something far greater than he or anyone else could comprehend. But for now, Sam slept peacefully, unaware of the journey that awaited him. Unaware that his decision to stop and help a helpless bird would ripple outward, touching lives and inspiring others in ways he couldn't yet imagine. All he knew was that he had done the right thing. And sometimes, doing the right thing, even when it seems small, is enough to set amazing things in motion. The next morning, Sam woke up earlier than usual. The first rays of sunlight streamed through his bedroom window, painting golden streaks across the walls. But Sam wasn't thinking about the beauty of the sunrise. His mind was already racing, with thoughts of the bird downstairs. Was it still alive? Had it gotten any better overnight? These questions pulled him out of bed faster than his alarm ever could. He tiptoed down the stairs, trying not to wake his mom, who was still asleep in her room. When he reached the living room, he held his breath as he approached the shoebox, near the heater. Peering inside, he let out a soft gasp of relief. The bird was sitting upright now, its tiny chest rising and falling steadily. Its eyes were open, though they looked tired, and it gave a weak chirp when it noticed Sam leaning over the box. Sam grinned from ear to ear. "You're okay," he whispered excitedly. He knelt beside the box, careful not to startle the bird. "I told you you'd get better." For a moment he just watched it, marveling at how something so small and fragile could fight so hard to survive. Then, remembering the dish of water and crumbs nearby, he gently nudged them closer to the bird. To his delight, it hopped forward, clumsily, and pecked at the food. Feeling hopeful and happy, Sam decided to tell his mom the good news. He rushed to her room and knocked softly on the door. "Mom, Mom, wake up," he called, unable to contain his excitement. A few moments later, his mother opened the door, rubbing her eyes sleepily. "What is it, Sam?" she asked, stifling a yawn. "The bird. It's better," Sam exclaimed, bouncing on his toes. "It's eating and chirping and everything." His mom smiled warmly. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. You've done such a great job taking care of it." She ruffled his hair affectionately before heading downstairs to see for herself. Sure enough, the bird was looking much stronger than it had been the night before. "It's amazing how resilient animals can be," she said thoughtfully. "But we need to figure out what to do next. Do you think it's strong enough to go back outside?" Sam frowned, considering the question. He wanted the bird to be free again, but he also worried that it might not be ready yet. "Maybe we should wait a little longer," he suggested, "just until it gets stronger." His mom nodded in agreement. "That sounds like a good idea. In the meantime, I'll call the local vet to see if they have any advice." She patted Sam on the shoulder. "Why don't you keep an eye on it while I make some calls?" Sam eagerly returned to the living room, feeling proud of himself. As he sat beside the shoebox, he began talking to the bird softly, telling it stories about his day at school and his friends. Though the bird couldn't understand him, it seemed to enjoy his company, tilting its head curiously whenever he spoke. Later that afternoon, after finishing her phone calls, Sam's mom came back into the living room with a thoughtful expression. "I spoke to Dr. Harris at the clinic," she said. "He says the bird needs more time to recover fully, but he also mentioned something interesting. Someone in town reported seeing a boy helping an injured bird yesterday. They described you perfectly." Sam blinked in surprise. "Me? Why would anyone report me?" His mom chuckled. "Because what you did was kind and thoughtful, and people notice things like that. Anyway, Dr. Harris said he's sending someone over to check on the bird, and maybe thank you personally." Sam felt a mix of excitement and nervousness bubbling in his stomach. He wasn't used to being recognized for anything, let alone something as simple as helping a bird. Before he could ask more questions, there was a knock at the door. His mom went to answer it, and a few moments later she returned with a tall man wearing a warm coat and holding a notebook. "Hello there," the man said with a friendly smile. "My name is Mr. Carter. I work with the local wildlife rescue center." He extended his hand toward Sam's mom, then turned his attention to Sam. "And you must be the young hero everyone's talking about." Sam blushed deeply, unsure how to respond. "I'm not a hero," he mumbled. "I just found the bird and brought it home." "Well, that's exactly what makes you special," Mr. Carter replied kindly. "Not everyone would take the time to help a creature in need. Can I see the bird?" Sam nodded and led Mr. Carter to the shoebox. The man crouched down and examined the bird carefully, noting its progress and checking for signs of injury. After a few minutes, he stood up and smiled. "This little guy is doing remarkably well, thanks to your care. With a bit more rest, he should be ready to return to the wild soon." Hearing this made Sam feel both relieved and proud. He had never imagined that his actions could make such a difference. "So what happens now?" he asked shyly. Mr. Carter glanced at him thoughtfully. "Well, since you've shown such compassion, I'd like to invite you to visit our rescue center. We take care of all kinds of animals, birds, foxes, rabbits, even owls, and help them recover until they're strong enough to go back to their natural habitats. I think you'd enjoy seeing what we do." Sam's eyes widened in amazement. "Really, you mean I can come and help?" "Absolutely," Mr. Carter said with a grin. "We always need volunteers, especially ones with big hearts like yours. If you're interested, we'd love to have you join us as a junior helper." Sam turned to his mom, his face lighting up with excitement. "Can I go, Mom? Please?" His mom laughed softly. "Of course you can, sweetheart. This is a wonderful opportunity." Overwhelmed with gratitude and anticipation, Sam thanked Mr. Carter profusely. The man handed him a card with the address of the rescue center and promised to arrange a visit for the following weekend. As Mr. Carter left, Sam couldn't stop smiling. He couldn't wait to see the rescue center and meet all the animals he might help. The rest of the week passed quickly for Sam. He spent most of his time tending to the bird, feeding it and making sure it stayed comfortable. By Friday evening, the bird was hopping around energetically in the box, its wings flapping occasionally as if testing their strength. Sam knew it wouldn't be long before it was ready to fly again. He felt a bittersweet mix of happiness and sadness at the thought of letting it go, but he reminded himself that the bird belonged in the sky, not in a box. On Saturday morning, Sam woke up early, too excited to sleep. His mom packed him a lunch and drove him to the rescue center, which was located on the outskirts of town. When they arrived, Sam's jaw dropped at the sight before him. The center was nestled amidst tall trees and sprawling fields, its buildings surrounded by enclosures where animals roamed freely. There were cages filled with recovering birds, pens housing rabbits and squirrels, and even larger areas for foxes and deer. Mr. Carter greeted them warmly and gave Sam a tour of the facility. He showed him the medical wing, where veterinarians treated injured animals, and the rehabilitation area, where creatures learned to regain their strength. Sam listened intently, asking questions and marveling at everything he saw. At one point, they stopped by a large aviary filled with birds of all shapes and sizes. Some perched on branches while others fluttered around playfully. "These are the birds we're preparing to release back into the wild," Mr. Carter explained. "They've healed enough to fly, but they still need practice building their stamina. Sam watched in awe as a falcon soared gracefully above the enclosure, its wings slicing through the air like blades. He imagined the bird he had saved eventually joining these magnificent creatures in the sky. The thought filled him with pride and hope. After the tour, Mr. Carter handed Sam a volunteer badge and assigned him his first task: feeding the smaller birds in the aviary. Sam accepted the responsibility eagerly, thrilled to be part of such important work. As he carefully placed bowls of seeds and water in front of the cages, he felt a deep sense of purpose. For the first time, he realized that helping others, even in small ways, could lead to something truly meaningful. By the end of the day, Sam was exhausted but happy. He had learned so much about animals and discovered a passion he hadn't known he had. On the car ride home, he chattered nonstop to his mom about everything he had seen and done. "This is the best day ever," he declared, clutching his volunteer badge tightly. His mom smiled, pleased to see how much joy the experience had brought him. "I'm so proud of you, Sam," she said. "You found something you love, and that's a gift." As they pulled into their driveway, Sam looked out the window at the sky, now painted with streaks of orange and pink from the setting sun. He thought about the bird he had saved, and all the other animals waiting for their chance to be free again. He didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning of a journey that would change his life forever. Little did Sam realize, however, that his act of kindness had already started to inspire others. Word of his dedication had spread beyond the rescue center, reaching people in the community who admired his compassion. And as the days turned into weeks, Sam would discover just how far-reaching the impact of his small gesture truly was. The weeks that followed Sam's first visit to the Wildlife Rescue Center became some of the happiest days of his life. Every weekend, he eagerly returned to help care for the animals. His mornings started early, as he would wake up before sunrise, pack a sandwich for lunch, and head out with his mom to the center. By the time they arrived, the sun was just beginning to peek over the horizon, casting soft golden light across the fields surrounding the facility. The air smelled fresh, tinged with the earthy scent of grass and leaves, and the sound of chirping birds filled the quiet morning. At first, Sam's tasks were simple: feeding the smaller animals, cleaning their enclosures, and refilling water bowls. But as he grew more comfortable, Mr. Carter began assigning him bigger responsibilities. He taught Sam how to prepare food for different species, explaining what each animal needed to stay healthy. For example, the foxes liked raw meat, while the rabbits preferred fresh vegetables like carrots and lettuce. The birds, on the other hand, enjoyed seeds and fruits, especially berries when they were in season. Sam soaked up every bit of information, determined to do his best. One of Sam's favorite jobs was working in the aviary, where he spent hours watching the birds recover their strength. Some of them were already flying short distances, flapping their wings as they moved from branch to branch. Others still needed encouragement, so Sam would gently toss bits of food into the air, prompting them to stretch their wings and chase after it. Over time, he noticed improvements in their movements. They flew higher, faster, and with more confidence. Seeing this progress made Sam feel proud, knowing he had played a small part in their recovery. But it wasn't just about the work, it was also about the connections Sam formed with the animals. He quickly learned that each creature had its own personality. There was Luna, a mischievous little owl who loved stealing shiny objects and hiding them under her perch. Then there was Max, a stubborn fox who refused to eat unless someone hand-fed him. And of course there was Pip, a sparrow who reminded Sam of the bird he had saved. Pip had been brought to the center after being hit by a car, and though she was healing well, she still seemed shy around people. Sam took special care to spend extra time with her, talking softly and offering treats until she finally began to trust him. As the days went by, Sam found himself changing too. Before, he had often felt unsure of himself, hesitant to speak up or try new things. But at the rescue center, he discovered a sense of confidence he hadn't known he had. Helping the animals gave him purpose, and seeing their gratitude, even if it came in small ways like a wagging tail or a cheerful chirp, made him feel valued. He realized that kindness didn't have to be loud or flashy to make a difference. Sometimes simply showing up and doing your best was enough. Sam's dedication didn't go unnoticed. Other volunteers at the center began to admire his hard work and compassion. They nicknamed him the Bird Whisperer because of how well he connected with the feathered residents. Even Mr. Carter praised him regularly, saying, "You've got a real gift, Sam. These animals respond to you in ways I've never seen before." Despite all the praise, Sam remained humble. He didn't think of himself as extraordinary. He was just doing what felt right. Still, he couldn't deny how much he loved being at the rescue center. It felt like a second home, a place where he belonged. And as the seasons changed, bringing cooler weather and colorful autumn leaves, Sam's bond with the animals deepened even further. One crisp Saturday morning, something unexpected happened that would change everything. As usual, Sam arrived at the center bright and early, ready to start his day. But when he walked into the main building, he noticed an unusual buzz of activity. Volunteers were gathered in the hallway, chatting excitedly and pointing toward the front door. Curious, Sam approached one of the older volunteers, a kind woman named Mrs. Thompson, and asked, "What's going on?" Mrs. Thompson smiled warmly. "We've got visitors today," she said. "A reporter from the local newspaper is coming to write a story about the center, and guess who they want to interview?" Sam blinked in surprise. "Me?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "That's right," Mrs. Thompson replied, patting him on the shoulder. "Word has spread about the boy who saved a bird and inspired others to volunteer here. People are curious to learn more about you." Sam's heart raced. He had never imagined that anyone outside the center would care about what he did. Sure, he was proud of helping the animals, but he hadn't thought of it as anything worth writing about. Now, faced with the idea of being interviewed, he felt nervous. What if he said the wrong thing? What if people laughed at him? Before he could dwell on his worries, Mr. Carter appeared and called everyone together. "All right, team," he said, clapping his hands to get their attention. "The reporter will be here soon, so let's make sure everything looks perfect. Sam, come with me. I'll show you where the interview will take place." Sam followed Mr. Carter to a cozy corner of the center, where chairs had been set up near a large window overlooking the aviary. Sunlight streamed through the glass, creating a warm and inviting atmosphere. Mr. Carter gestured for Sam to sit down. "Just relax," he advised. "Answer honestly and don't worry too much. You're doing amazing work and people will see that." A few minutes later, the reporter arrived, a friendly-looking woman with curly hair and a camera slung over her shoulder. She introduced herself as Ms. Bennett and shook Sam's hand firmly. "It's nice to meet you, Sam," she said with a smile. "I've heard so much about you. Can we start by talking about how you ended up volunteering here?" Sam nodded nervously and began to recount the story of finding the injured bird on the street. He explained how he had taken it home, cared for it, and eventually met Mr. Carter, who invited him to join the rescue center. As he spoke, he noticed Ms. Bennett nodding encouragingly, jotting notes in her notebook and snapping photos of him. Slowly, his nerves faded, replaced by excitement as he shared his experiences. Ms. Bennett asked thoughtful questions, wanting to understand why Sam cared so deeply about animals. "Do you think everyone should try to help animals like you did?" she asked at one point. Sam thought carefully before answering. "I think it doesn't have to be big things. Even something small like feeding a stray dog or picking up trash near a pond can make a difference. Animals need our help sometimes, and if we don't step in, no one else might." His words impressed not only Ms. Bennett, but also the volunteers listening nearby. After the interview ended, several of them congratulated Sam, telling him how inspiring he was. For the rest of the day, he glowed with pride, knowing that his story might inspire others to act kindly toward animals. The article appeared in the local newspaper the following week, complete with a photo of Sam standing beside Pip in the aviary. The headline read, "Young Boy's Compassion Inspires Community to Support Wildlife Rescue Efforts." The story highlighted Sam's journey from saving a single bird to becoming a dedicated volunteer at the center. It also included quotes from Mr. Carter and other volunteers, praising Sam's commitment and leadership. To Sam's amazement, the article sparked a wave of interest in the rescue center. Donations poured in, from food and supplies to monetary contributions that helped expand the facility. New volunteers signed up, eager to follow in Sam's footsteps. Families visited on weekends, bringing their children to learn about the importance of protecting wildlife. The center became busier than ever, buzzing with energy and enthusiasm. For Sam, this sudden attention was both thrilling and overwhelming. He never imagined that his small act of kindness would lead to such a big impact. But instead of letting it go to his head, he used the opportunity to spread awareness. During tours of the center, he shared his story with visitors, emphasizing the power of compassion and teamwork. "We can all make a difference," he told them, "even if it starts with one tiny bird." As winter approached, the rescue center prepared for its annual release event, a celebration where healed animals were set free back into the wild. This year, the event was bigger than ever, thanks to the increased support from the community. Hundreds of people gathered to watch as foxes bounded into the forest, rabbits hopped into the fields, and birds soared into the sky. Among the released animals was Pip, the sparrow who had once been so shy. When it was her turn, Sam opened the cage door and stepped back, holding his breath. For a moment, Pip hesitated, looking at Sam with wide eyes. Then, with a flutter of her wings, she took flight, rising higher and higher until she disappeared into the clouds. Sam watched her go, tears pricking the corners of his eyes. Though he was sad to say goodbye, he knew it was the right thing. Pip was meant to be free, just like all the other animals he had helped. After the event, Sam reflected on everything that had happened since that fateful day when he found the injured bird on the sidewalk. He had started with a simple act of kindness, driven by nothing more than a desire to help. But that act had grown into something far greater, touching countless lives, including his own. He had learned patience, responsibility, and the joy of making a difference. Most importantly, he had discovered his purpose. Little did Sam know, however, that his journey was far from over. While the rescue center thrived, as winter settled over the town, Sam found himself busier than ever. The attention his story had brought to the Wildlife Rescue Center didn't fade. It only grew stronger. People from nearby cities began visiting the center, eager to see firsthand the work being done and meet the boy who had inspired so many. Schools invited Sam to give talks about kindness and conservation, while local businesses donated supplies and funds to support the center's mission. Every day seemed to bring new opportunities, and though Sam was grateful for the recognition, he sometimes felt overwhelmed by it all. Despite the whirlwind of activity, Sam remained grounded. His mom often reminded him that staying humble was just as important as staying kind. "You're doing wonderful things, sweetheart," she would say, "but don't forget why you started this journey, to help animals, not to become famous." Those words stuck with Sam, guiding him through moments when self-doubt crept in. He knew deep down that his purpose wasn't about fame or praise. It was about making the world a better place, one small act at a time. One chilly December morning, Sam arrived at the rescue center earlier than usual. Snow blanketed the ground, sparkling like diamonds under the pale sunlight. The air smelled crisp and clean, carrying the faint scent of pine trees from the nearby forest. As he trudged through the snow toward the main building, he noticed a group of people standing near the entrance. Curious, he quickened his pace and soon realized they were reporters, cameras slung over their shoulders, notebooks in hand, and microphones ready to record. "Sam," called out Mr. Carter, waving him over. "We've got some exciting news today." Sam's heart skipped a beat. "What's going on?" he asked, glancing nervously at the crowd. Mr. Carter grinned. "A national magazine heard about your story and wants to feature you in an article. They're here to interview you and take photos of the center." Sam's eyes widened in disbelief. "National? Like the whole country?" "That's right," Mr. Carter confirmed. "Your kindness has touched so many lives, Sam. This is just another step in sharing your message with the world." Sam swallowed hard, feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety. He had grown more comfortable speaking publicly, but the thought of being featured in a national magazine still intimidated him. What if he said something wrong? What if people judged him? But then he remembered his mom's advice. Focus on helping others, not on yourself. Taking a deep breath, he nodded. Okay, let's do it. The interview took place inside the aviary, where the reporters could capture stunning images of Sam surrounded by birds. They asked questions about his experiences at the rescue center, his favorite memories, and what he hoped to achieve in the future. Sam answered honestly, sharing stories of the animals he had helped and the lessons he had learned along the way. When one reporter asked, "Why do you think kindness matters so much?" Sam paused for a moment before replying, "Because it doesn't just help one person or one animal, it spreads. When someone sees you being kind, they might decide to be kind too, and that creates a chain reaction." His words resonated deeply with the reporters who scribbled notes furiously. By the end of the session, Sam felt a renewed sense of purpose. If his story could inspire even one person to care for animals or the environment, it would all be worth it. The magazine article appeared a few weeks later, accompanied by breathtaking photos of Sam feeding birds, playing with foxes, and smiling warmly alongside Mr. Carter. The headline read, "The Boy Who Changed Hearts: How One Child's Kindness Sparked a Movement." The piece highlighted Sam's journey from saving a single bird to becoming a symbol of hope and compassion. It also included quotes from volunteers, teachers, and community members who praised his dedication and humility. The response was overwhelming. Letters and emails poured into the rescue center from across the country, thanking Sam for inspiring them to take action. Some readers shared their own stories of helping animals, while others pledged to volunteer at local shelters or organize fundraisers. A teacher from another state wrote to say her class had started a project planting trees after reading Sam's story. Even celebrities chimed in, praising Sam's efforts and encouraging their followers to follow his example. With each message, Sam felt humbled and inspired. He realized that his actions weren't just changing individual lives, they were creating a ripple effect that reached far beyond what he could have imagined. But despite the growing acclaim, Sam stayed focused on his work at the rescue center. He continued caring for the animals, teaching newcomers how to feed and clean enclosures and preparing healed creatures for release into the wild. One evening, as Sam sat in the cozy living room of his home, flipping through the pages of the magazine article, his mom joined him on the couch. "You've come such a long way, sweetheart," she said softly. "I'm so proud of you." Sam smiled, closing the magazine. "Thanks, Mom. But I couldn't have done any of this without you, and everyone else at the center. It's not just me, it's all of us working together." His mom nodded thoughtfully. "That's true, but remember, it all started with you. Your decision to stop and help that little bird set everything in motion." Sam leaned back against the couch, thinking about her words. She was right. The journey had begun with a single moment of kindness. Yet now, it felt like so much more than just his story. It belonged to everyone who had been inspired to make a difference. The following week, the rescue center hosted its annual holiday open house, an event designed to thank volunteers and donors while spreading awareness about wildlife conservation. This year, however, the turnout was unprecedented. Hundreds of people packed the facility, eager to celebrate the center's achievements and learn more about its mission. Children giggled as they petted rabbits and held turtles, while adults marveled at the progress of recovering animals. Booths offering educational materials lined the pathways, and volunteers handed out hot cocoa to keep everyone warm. At the heart of the celebration stood Sam, surrounded by friends, family, and supporters. He gave a short speech, thanking everyone for their contributions and urging them to continue protecting wildlife. "Every act of kindness counts," he said, his voice steady and sincere. "Whether it's rescuing a bird, planting a tree, or simply spreading awareness, we can all make a difference." The crowd erupted into applause, cheering loudly as Sam stepped down from the makeshift stage. As he mingled with guests afterward, he noticed a familiar face in the crowd. A girl about his age with curly red hair and freckles sprinkled across her nose. She approached him shyly, holding out a handmade card decorated with colorful drawings of animals. "I wanted to give you this," she said, her cheeks flushing pink. "You inspired me to start volunteering at my local shelter. Thank you." Sam accepted the card with a wide smile. "That means a lot to me," he replied. "And thank you for helping animals. You're making a difference too." Moments like these filled Sam's heart with joy. He loved seeing how his story had motivated others to take action, proving that kindness truly did spread like wildfire. But as the evening drew to a close and the crowd began to disperse, Sam couldn't shake the feeling that something even bigger was waiting just around the corner. Over the next few days, hints of that something began to emerge. First, a package arrived at the rescue center containing a large donation from an anonymous donor. Attached was a note that read, "For the boy who reminds us all to care." Then, a letter came from a prestigious environmental organization, inviting Sam to attend a youth summit in the spring, a gathering of young leaders dedicated to protecting the planet. Finally, a local TV station contacted Mr. Carter, asking if Sam would appear on a popular morning show to discuss his journey. Each new development filled Sam with excitement and anticipation. He knew these opportunities would allow him to reach even more people, amplifying his message of kindness and conservation. But he also understood the responsibility that came with them. He couldn't let fear or doubt hold him back, not when so many others were counting on him to lead by example. In preparation for the upcoming events, Sam spent hours practicing interviews and rehearsing speeches. His mom helped him refine his delivery, reminding him to speak clearly and confidently. Mr. Carter offered guidance too, sharing tips on how to engage audiences and answer tough questions. With their support, Sam felt ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead. On the day of the TV appearance, Sam woke up early, his stomach fluttering with nerves. The studio lights were bright and the cameras intimidating. But once the host began asking questions, Sam relaxed. He spoke passionately about the importance of protecting wildlife and encouraged viewers to find ways to contribute, no matter how small. By the end of the segment, the host thanked him warmly, saying, "Sam, you're proof that anyone can make a difference. Keep inspiring us all." Back at school, Sam's classmates greeted him with cheers and high fives. Even his teachers praised him, using his story as an example during lessons on empathy and leadership. For the first time, Sam felt fully accepted, not because he was different, but because he had shown others that everyone has the power to create change. As January rolled into February, Sam eagerly prepared for the youth summit. He spent hours researching environmental issues, crafty. When Sam returned home from the youth summit, he felt like a different person. Not because he had changed on the outside, but because his perspective had grown wider and deeper. He now understood that kindness wasn't just about helping animals. It was about connecting people to causes bigger than themselves. His experiences at the summit had shown him how interconnected the world truly was, how actions taken in one corner of the globe could ripple outward, affecting lives far beyond their origin. Armed with this newfound understanding, Sam was ready to take his mission to the next level. The first thing he did was organize a community-wide event called Kindness for Wildlife Day. With the help of Mr. Carter, his mom, and other volunteers, they planned activities designed to educate and inspire. There would be workshops on building birdhouses, talks about local ecosystems, and even a cleanup drive to remove trash from nearby parks and streams. Flyers were distributed throughout the town, inviting everyone to participate. To Sam's delight, hundreds of people signed up, eager to contribute. On the day of the event, the rescue center buzzed with activity. Families arrived early, carrying bags of supplies and wearing matching t-shirts printed with the slogan, "Small acts, big changes." Children ran around excitedly, clutching DIY kits for making feeders out of recycled materials. Adults gathered, in groups, listening intently as experts explained the importance of conservation. Even local businesses pitched in, setting up stalls, offering free snacks and eco-friendly products. Sam spent the morning leading workshops, teaching kids how to construct birdhouses using old wood scraps As he worked alongside them, hammering nails and painting designs, he couldn't help but feel proud. These children were learning valuable skills, and more importantly, they were learning the value of caring for nature. One little girl tugged on his sleeve after finishing her birdhouse. "Will birds really come live in this?" she asked, her eyes wide with wonder. "They sure will," Sam replied with a smile. "And when they do, you'll know you helped give them a safe place to call home." By afternoon, the cleanup drive was underway. Armed with gloves and trash bags, volunteers combed through parks and along riverbanks, collecting litter that threatened wildlife habitats. Sam joined a group cleaning a stretch of forest near the rescue center. Together, they pulled plastic bottles, candy wrappers, and tangled fishing lines from the underbrush. Though the work was tiring, the sense of accomplishment kept everyone motivated. As the sun began to set, the volunteers gathered back at the center for a closing ceremony. Sam stood on a small stage, looking out at the sea of faces before him. "Today we prove that kindness has the power to bring us together," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "Every piece of trash we picked up, every birdhouse we built, every moment we spent learning, it all matters. Because when we care for the earth, we're caring for each other." The crowd erupted into applause, cheering loudly as Sam stepped down from the stage. People came forward to thank him, shaking his hand and hugging him tightly. For the first time, Sam allowed himself to fully absorb the impact of what he had achieved. This wasn't just his story anymore. It belonged to everyone who had participated, everyone who had been inspired to act. But the surprises weren't over yet. A few weeks later, Sam received an email from a renowned environmental foundation. They had heard about his efforts and wanted to award him a grant to expand the rescue center's programs. The money would fund new facilities, hire additional staff, and create educational resources for schools across the country. Sam could hardly believe it. His dream of reaching even more people was becoming a reality. With the grant secured, work began immediately on expanding the rescue center. New enclosures were built to house larger animals like deer and raccoons, while a state-of-the-art medical wing provided advanced care for injured creatures. A classroom was added, where students could visit for hands-on lessons about wildlife conservation. Sam played an active role in overseeing the renovations, ensuring that every detail aligned with the center's mission of compassion and education. As spring approached, the revamped center held its grand reopening. Hundreds of visitors attended, marveling at the improvements and celebrating the hard work that had made it possible. During the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Sam delivered a heartfelt speech. "This place isn't just a rescue center," he said. "It's proof that kindness can change the world. Every animal here represents hope, a reminder that no matter how broken something seems, healing is always possible." His words resonated deeply with the audience, many of whom wiped away tears as they applauded. Afterward, Sam wandered through the center, taking in the sights and sounds of the bustling facility. Birds chirped happily in the aviary, foxes lounged in their spacious pens, and rabbits nibbled on fresh vegetables in their enclosures. Everywhere he looked, there were signs of life, resilience, and renewal. Later that evening, as Sam sat on the porch of his home, watching the stars twinkle in the night sky, he reflected on everything that had happened since that fateful winter afternoon when he found the injured bird. What started as a simple act of kindness had grown into something extraordinary, a movement that touched countless lives and transformed an entire community. Yet despite all the achievements, Sam knew his journey wasn't over. There was still so much work to be done, so many animals to help, and so many hearts to inspire. Just then, his mom joined him on the porch, handing him a cup of hot chocolate. "You've done amazing things, sweetheart," she said softly. "What's next, for you?" Sam sipped his drink, gazing thoughtfully at the horizon. "I want to keep spreading the message," he replied. "Maybe write a book or start a website where people can share their own stories of kindness. I think it's important for everyone to see that they have the power to make a difference." His mom smiled warmly. "Whatever you decide, I know. You'll do great things. You've already shown the world what's possible." Over the next few months, Sam poured his energy into creating a platform for sharing stories of kindness and conservation. He launched a website called Wings of Kindness One, featuring articles, videos, and resources to educate and inspire. Visitors could submit their own tales of helping animals or protecting the environment, which Sam curated into a growing collection of hope and action. The site quickly gained traction, attracting readers from around the globe. One day, while scrolling through submissions, Sam came across a story that made his heart swell with pride. It was from a boy in another country who had saved a turtle trapped in a fishing net on the beach. Inspired by Sam's example, the boy had started organizing monthly cleanups in his village, rallying friends and neighbors to join the cause. Attached to the submission was a photo of the boy holding the rescued turtle, a huge grin on his face. Sam stared at the image for a long time, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. This was why he had shared his story, to show others that they too could be heroes in their own right. Kindness wasn't limited by age, location, or circumstance. Anyone could make a difference if they chose to act. Years passed, and Sam grew older, but his passion for helping animals and inspiring others never faded. He went on to study environmental science in college, eventually becoming a leading advocate for wildlife conservation. His website expanded into a global network, connecting activists and organizations working toward a common goal: a healthier, kinder planet. Though his life took many turns, Sam never forgot where it all began, with a single bird lying helpless on a cold sidewalk. That tiny creature had taught him the most important lesson of all: that even the smallest acts of kindness can spark the biggest changes. And so, as Sam stood on a stage years later, addressing a crowd of thousands at an international conservation conference, he ended his speech with these words: "Never underestimate the power of your actions. Whether you're feeding a stray dog, planting a tree, or simply smiling at someone having a bad day, you're making the world a better place. Together, let's keep spreading kindness, one act at a time." The audience rose to their feet, applauding thunderously as Sam stepped off the stage. Tears welled in his eyes as he looked out at the sea of faces, faces full of hope, determination, and love for the planet. In that moment, he knew his journey had come full circle. From a shy boy with a big heart to a global leader in conservation, Sam had proven that kindness truly does change the world.